Welcome to the Equinety Podcast, where horse owners just like you share their incredible Equinety stories and how Equinety is changing their horses' lives. Whether you're searching for something to give your performance horse better focus, faster recovery, and more stamina, or in the extreme case where all hope seems lost, give your horse what it needs to help heal at a cellular level, you'll find it here. So jump in on today's episode to hear how Equinety is helping horses worldwide. Now, welcome your host, John Dowdy.
Hello and welcome to another Equinety Podcast. This is your host, John Dowdy, and I am really excited to have on our guest out of South Carolina, and her name is Missouri. And back in November of last year, that would be 2018, she was given a horse for free by the name of Gray. And there was lots of issues going on, just always pawing and moving around, and she'd have to tack him up just to get on him, couldn't groom him, just kind of a head case and a real mess, a lot of things going on. Well, I guess instead of me telling you all about Gray, why don't we go ahead and bring Missouri on the show. Missouri, welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your Equinety story.
No problem. I'm glad to be here.
Good deal. Okay, so kind of give us some background and tell us about Gray.
Well, Gray was given to me in November from a friend who had pretty much gotten to the end of a rope with him. He was pretty unruly on the ground. He would pace fence lines. You couldn't really keep him in a stall. And he's quite big. He's 18 one hand, so he was just a handful. And so I acquired Gray, and nothing was working to calm him down. I couldn't groom him. He was great under saddle, walk, trot, canter, but as far as on the ground, I couldn't even pick his feet out. Couldn't curry him or brush him or do anything because he just wouldn't be still, and he would run you over. If you tried to put him in the stall, he would bolt out of the stall and run you over. He would bolt over you in the pasture, in the cross ties even. And so I didn't know what to do. And so a client was feeding his older horse Equinety, and he suggested that I try it. And he said, well, here, take some of mine and try it out.
Oh, so you you talked your friend out of some Equinety.
Yes.
That is one good friend.
My client. Yeah, my client gave me 3 big scoops of it so I could try it.
Yeah.
And it worked. It was like 5 to 8 days. I saw this huge difference. I could brush him. It was amazing. And so I started riding him, and then the bad weather here hit, and so we didn't get a lot of ride time in.
Right. Okay, so let's back up just a little bit. So just to recap what you're saying, so under saddle, perfectly fine.
Yes.
But then not under saddle, watch out because it's a dangerous thing waiting to happen here.
And even if you put a chain on him, like it didn't matter. It didn't, and he wouldn't like hand graze. He was just a lunatic. Did
you have any history or have any idea?
I have. When she had him a year before she gave him to me, and he was given to her also.
Oh, it's kind of being passed around then.
Yeah, so he's been passed around. He's only 11. He has scars all over his body from whatever. I don't know if he has gone through fences before. I don't know.
You think also that his face had been fractured or broken?
Yes, yes. When he was in possession of the my friend who had him before me, she came to the farm one day and his whole face was blood, and he had this small little puncture on his cheek, and she had it x-rayed, and he had fractured his face. He actually had to have surgery because he was like breathing out of the hole in his face because it had hit the sinus cavity. It was really bad.
Oh my gosh. Holy smokes.
I know, and I don't even want to know how much that cost her, but yeah, after that she was done. She said, if you don't take him, I'm just going to send him to Florida to retire.
Wow. So as you're dealing with all of this and before the Equinety, I mean, what was going through your mind as far as, I'm sure you had to be very frustrated. Were you thinking of just...
I felt terrible is
Mm-hmm.
what I just felt guilty. Like I felt like, why can't I'm a trainer. I've been training horses for 10 years. Like I have my USEF Bronze Medal. Like, why can't I fix this? I felt really guilty, to be honest. And
Mm-hmm.
just like nothing was going to work. And I didn't want to give up on him. I felt like everybody else had, and that he deserved a chance. So I said, well, let's try this. And, after he went through the fence that day and back in March, I said, you know what, I'm just going to spend the money and do the GastroGuard as well.
Right. Yeah, so you had reached, well, first of all, you had somehow talked your client out of some Equinety, which is a feat in and of itself, I think.
I did talk. I told him if I liked it, when I got mine, I would
That's funny.
give it back to him.
That's funny. There's so many stories that we get that so every now and then somebody, I spilt my Equinety. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to scrape up all the little granules, and it's like it's like little gold nuggets,
I know.
Yeah. So that is very interesting. So back in January of this year, it was towards the end of January 2019 is when you had reached out to me and had kind of given a bit of a story on Gray. And,
right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you had picked up, I guess it was about 30 days of Equinety because although it had a big transformation just in what you were able to talk your client out of. We wanted to get some more time on that. So now let's skip ahead 30 days or maybe, I guess it was about 15 or 20 days, I think is when the next update came in because you were now, so tell us about that.
So I received your samples on at the end of January, and I started feeding him that. And I actually have already bought a big container of it since then. And I'll continue to buy it. I love it. But so then after February rolls around, and then the weather gets really bad. It rains every day. It's just nasty out, and I just didn't have a lot of time. And he can't be kept in a stall. I still don't make him go in a stall.
Mm-hmm.
I let him stay out. He has a shelter and everything, but I just don't want to put him through that. I don't know what it is with the stall, but so he's kept outside. And so I didn't really get to do a whole lot with him in February. And but he was great, and we actually were able to put a pasture mate out with him.
Oh, wow.
So he had a friend now. And then when the weather got cold, he started getting a little aggressive again. And I thought, well, I don't know if it's the cold. And so I talked to my vet, and she said, he's probably got ulcers because, he really wasn't putting weight on either. I still wasn't happy with his weight. And then we had the Diane Ritz Clinic, who is a gold medalist in our area. I have her come to the farm once a month to teach.
Okay, yeah.
And all of the horses were in the barn or were riding in the arena, and he just lost his mind. I don't know what happened. He lost his mind. He was running up and down the fence. Next thing you know, he's in the fence, tangled in the fence.
Yes, you sent me these pictures, and they're like, holy
and
cow.
I thought I was going to have to put him down because, he's white, and when he bled, there was blood everywhere. It was everywhere. And I handed my horse over that I had just got done riding in the clinic, and I ran out there to check him. No lameness, but just blood everywhere. And so I cleaned him up, and that's when that's the picture that I sent, was right after it had happened. And then the next day I went to my vets and got the GastroGuard, the 28 days of GastroGuard. Sure. And that's what it was. He had ulcers.
Good night. Well, and for those of you who are just listening into the podcast, you're not able to see these pictures. If you go over to our website at teamequinety.com and click on the podcast link, below this particular podcast, everything will be down below it. The podcast will be transcribed, and we'll also have some before and after pictures as well as videos, so you can get a good look at Gray and what we're visually talking about here. But yeah, the pictures as I'm looking at them right now from getting caught in the fence there, it's a pretty remarkable healing time, I would say. Wouldn't you agree?
It was amazing. You can even see in the pictures The most recent one that I took yesterday, the hair's already growing back. It's just amazing. Like if you walked up to him, you wouldn't even tell it was. If I pointed it out, you would see it. But the wound's almost completely closed. He was never lame. It was amazing. I had to share with you the pictures because I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And like I said, I never took him off the Equinety because I knew it had helped.
Right.
But it's just amazing to me, the difference.
Yeah, it really is. We are so blessed. I mean, and I'll tell you, in every case that I've heard of, where we're talking about an injured horse or one that's coming out of a surgery, in every single scenario that I've ever heard of where they're using the Equinety, they always, always, always heal ahead of schedule. And, the biggest reason for that is because Equinety is actually giving the body what it needs to release the hormones that help the body heal. And that's why it does so many different things for different parts of the body. And even for a high-performance horse that's in great condition and doesn't really have any issues, it's still going to help with soft tissue repair, fast recovery, more stamina, focus. Those are really big things for a horse that doesn't have any issues. But we look at this case, which was a pretty significant and serious case, and really a dangerous horse.
Yeah, I would agree with that. He was very dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that statement.
Yeah, and those are scary, and especially when you have the background that you have, and the frustration, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing this podcast, is for people just like you to share your Equinety story, and this hasn't been only 3 months, I guess, not even 3 months. I'm excited to see what the future holds for us, because I'm hoping that I can compete him and reach some goals I have, and it would be wonderful. That would be fantastic. So, well, for anybody else that's listening in for the first time, and after listening to this podcast, and let's say they still might be on the fence a little bit, what would you have to tell them about Equinety?
I would say give it a try. Get the samples that you guys give out, and and just give it a try. Give it 15 days and just see. I promise you'll see a difference in at least 5. Like I did. Mm-hmm. And from a horse that went from that dangerous to now he hand grazes and I can brush him, and you just don't even realize how sad that is to not be able to groom a horse. Yeah. It's just sad, and now I can spend that time with him before and after I ride, and it's fabulous. And I would encourage people, if you don't know what to do, if you have tried everything, try Equinety.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you can see the gray is probably happier as well. I mean, I'm sure that's another benefit.
His coat is softer. His eye is softer. He doesn't look worried all the time. When I put his bridle on, he puts his head down now instead of me having to get the ladder out with the bridle. Like, it's a complete 180.
Wow. That is so great to hear. Wow. Well, Missouri, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to share your Equinety story. And I'm excited to get this one up and out there for everybody to hear. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
That's all for this episode of the Equinety Podcast. For more information on purchasing Equinety, be sure to visit our website at teamequinety.com, where you'll also find product information as well as more testimonials on how others have seen amazing results by implementing Equinety into their horse's supplement regime. We'll have more stories on how Equinety is helping horses worldwide right here on a future episode of the Equinety Podcast.